Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Paddle Monster newsletter. This week I want to talk to the people that are unable to paddle through the winter months. Either they're frozen off the water or they don't have the gear to get out in cold weather, or maybe they simply don't enjoy it as much because, let's face it, it isn't quite as pleasurable as paddling in bare feet and board shorts. But I wanted to talk to them because there's lots that they can do in their training to prepare them to be really good when they hit the water next spring. And so when we were talking about off-season training about a month ago, we talked about how the off-season is a great time to develop your strength, your power endurance, as well as your aerobic fitness. And those are two huge pillars of performance in paddle sports, obviously strength and aerobic ability. But the other pillar of performance is technique. And one might think that it's not possible to develop technique or to do things that have a positive impact on your technique when you can't get out on the water. But the actual truth is that there's a fair amount that you can do when you can't paddle on dry land that can have a positive impact on your technique and can make you better on your board pretty quickly in the spring once you get back, on the board with a paddle in your hand. So I wanted to talk about that briefly today. When I was a kid learning to paddle canoe, the Olympic Games were in Montreal. And I remember that year there was a lot of information, a lot of articles in newspapers and magazines with a lot of good photographs of all the top paddlers. And I cut them all out and I studied them really closely. And on my own initiative, no one told me to do this, it was just my own idea, I went to the full-length mirror at my parents' house and I got a broom. And the broom stick was about the same length as my paddle shaft. And I got down in the canoe position, kneeling on my right knee with my left foot in front of me. And I arrayed all the photos around me and I sorted them. I had all the catch photos, or the entry and catch photos over here, and all the pull photos, where the paddle was in the middle of the pull in front of me, and then all of the photos for the exit over here. And what I would do is I would look at the photos, and then I would look at myself in the mirror, and I would try to, as precisely as I could, mimic the positions that I saw the athletes in the photos by looking in the mirror. And I was really particular about the positioning that I would get. I tried to copy exactly what the athletes in the photos were doing. And I would kind of lean on the broom a little bit too, to sort of feel in my muscles what those positions felt like. And like I said, I was just doing it because it was fun. And I was really enthusiastic, and I couldn't go paddling because the weather was cold. And but I didn't realize it at the time, but I was doing something that had a huge impact on my ability to learn how to paddle properly. When I got on the water in the spring, my technique was good, and I was complimented by all the coaches and older paddlers on how well my technique, how good my technique looked, how well I was paddling. And that summer and the next couple of summers after that, my improvement just skyrocketed to the point where I was competing against seniors internationally and doing well when I was only 16, 17 years old. And so this made a huge difference. I believe that that what I did on land in front of my parents' full-length mirror had a big impact on my ability to paddle well. Fast forward a number of years, and I was doing a training camp for SUP in Florida. And I had all the athletes on land, and I was putting them in the positions that they would need to be in at the catch. And it dawned on me that what I was doing was the same thing that I was doing way back when in front of the full-length mirror at my parents' house. And so when I got home from that camp, I made a real effort to think about how to do drills on land for each part of the stroke. And I studied a lot of video. Now, one thing you should know about me is I take video of all of the top pros that I can find. Fortunately, they do a lot of posts on social media with a lot of video. I screen capture all of it and I study it thoroughly. I look at it in slow motion. I look at it at faster speed. I look at it frame by frame. I look at it forwards. I look at it backwards. I know what everybody's doing. And one thing I've learned is that paddlers all look different when you see them paddling towards you in real time as they're paddling along. It's easy to tell from a great distance, say, for example, Connor Baxter from Michael Booth from Andre Krator. But when you start to look at them one frame at a time, what you realize is that there are positions in the stroke or spots in the stroke where they actually look really, really similar, to the point where you could almost take a frame of, say, Connor and a similar frame of Andre and a similar frame of Boothie and a similar frame of Noik, and you could lay them on top of each other, and they would almost exactly like cover each other, mimic each other. Their positioning is so similar, say at the catch. And another point in the stroke where everyone looks really similar is in the middle of the pull, where they're finished loading and they need to start unloading. They look really similar, where their blade is more or less, their paddle shaft is more or less vertical. And the third place where paddlers tend to look the same, where they're passing through a position where they're almost in exactly the same body position, is at the exit, just as they're exiting and pulling the blade out of the water. And it's really how they move between these positions that they're passing through that gives them their own unique look when they're paddling. So taking that into consideration, I thought what would make a lot of sense would be to do drills on land, since they all go through these similar positions. It would be do drills on land that put paddlers into those positions and have them feel what those positions are like on land, where they can actually like lean on their paddle and feel, every part of their body, the exact position it's in, what it feels like in that position, what the muscles feel like as they kind of lean on the paddle in that position. And it would be a lot easier for them to learn those positions and to be able to get into those positions, at will on land than it is in the water, because on land you don't have stability issues, you don't have wind and current, you don't have waves, you don't have the board wobbling. You're really solid. If you could learn to find those positions in a solid environment like on the land and get really good at finding them, then when you get onto your board, it's going to be easier for you to find them on your board than it otherwise would. And the truth of the matter is that some people paddle for years and they're never quite able to find those proper positions. But they can do it on land and find them in a very short period of time. And then when they get on their board, it's easier for them to find those positions. And what I've discovered is, thinking back to my canoe days, and then more recently with doing these positions myself in stand-up paddling, and then also coaching others, is that you don't really need to learn more than these three positions to learn how to paddle well, because your body is intelligent enough when you get on the water to connect the dots between these positions. And suddenly you have a very effective technique, but it's also your own kind of technique. It's your own motion, because how you connect the dots between these positions is going to be a little different than how, say, for example, Connor would. And so I've found that these land drills are hugely useful. I've also found that you don't need to spend a ton of time doing them. I would suggest that, if you're looking for something that you can do that is going to have a positive impact on your technique over the winter and you can't paddle, if you did these drills maybe 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week, that over the course of the winter would have a huge impact on your paddling in the spring. So I'd really like to encourage you guys to do a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to encourage you to collect video and study video, because you learn so much by watching people who paddle well paddle. There's a ton of video available. These guys are really good about posting on social media. And we have the technology just with a simple, phone to capture video that we see on our screen and then save it, and then we can look at it in slow motion, speed it up, make it bigger, make it smaller. We can do all kinds of cool stuff with it that help us learn. So collect the video library of the top guys and study it, and look for similarities between these top athletes. Like I saw the similarities, you will see them, and you'll find them really surprising, because we look at people and we think, oh, they all paddle a little differently. Well, they do, but they all pass through positions that are common between them. And then the next thing I think you should do is once you become familiar with what you're seeing, start to try to mimic these positions on land with a paddle in your hand in front of a mirror, so that you can be really precise in your positioning. You can look in the mirror and see what you look like, and you can look at the freeze frame of the video that you're trying to mimic, and you can see what it looks like, and you can make sure that the positioning is the same. And do this, and you will find it's going to make a huge difference on how well you're going to be able to paddle pretty quickly into the paddling season when you get back in the water. If you need help with this process, because I understand it can seem intimidating to do this if you've never done it before. If you need help with this process, I suggest you, join Paddle Monster, the basic membership, like it's $9.99 a month, because I've got all kinds of articles and instructional videos on how to do these land drills that are available there, and you'll find them really useful, and they'll lead you through this process. They'll make a strong case for why these drills work. They'll also have some videos or clips, freeze frames of the top paddlers in these positions, and then they'll help you do these drills properly. And you'll find that it makes a big difference for you in the spring. Beyond that, if you need even more help, you can always book a technique consult or something with me. But I do believe that people who, are motivated, can do these things on their own. If I did it as a 13-year-old kid on my own initiative way back when, certainly everybody else can do the same thing. But I am really happy to help you and provide you with the tools to do this if you need it. You know where to find us at Paddle Monster. So that's my message for you for this week. You can train really effectively when you're frozen off the water. Of course, on land doing strength and cardio, aerobic work, but you can also make a positive impact on your technique as well. So happy training, happy New Year, and I'll see you next week.